I was sitting here and the gravitas of this moment has sort of now hit me that after the hundreds of classes that you've taught and the thousands of real estate professionals that you've impacted, how they are kind of wishing they were me right now, getting a chance to really talk to you about this. And so that's thank you for doing this. I think our members and anybody that's come in contact with you over the years is really eating this up. You give this out in the training, but it's sometimes hard because people can't ask a question every 2 minutes, though they
Right.
want to. Though I'm sure they want to. So we're on this journey to turning the transaction into not a transaction but a relationship, beginning with, okay, I've met you for the first time. And I kind of want us to switch to a story, right? Let's get this in reality of something that's happened in the last, few months of how this really does work. And in those moments, because I know you're conscious of this, in those moments where the relationship shifted. So I know you have just fantastic relationships with as many of our institute members as possible, and they turn into great referral sources for you. So, in particular, why don't we talk about the physician relocating from Chicago?
Absolutely. Absolutely. So I got a call from one of our Institute members who said a dear friend and dear client of mine is relocating to St. Petersburg, going to be a physician there in one of the significant children's hospitals. And he said, the hospital has recommended a realtor, but I told them no. I told them that they need to work with you. So I'm sending you this referral. Know that these are people who I really love and trust personally and professionally, and so at least they're willing to talk with you. And so we had a Zoom call, and we made that connection. And by the end of that Zoom call, they knew that they wanted to work with me. So they actually had to go through the dicey step of releasing another realtor and letting the employer know that they'd gone in a different direction. So, so
I mean,
that's
I gotta interrupt you here because boy, that's really moving. And I'll tell you the part of that that's really moving is the way he referred you. A lot of people, when asked, do you know someone, they give a couple of names. Hey, there's these three people if they don't work
sure,
out. This is key in your business, in your daily business, because you refer as well.
absolutely.
And so this idea of being able to say, you have to use them and here's why is really the start of this whole thing, right? Because you've got a relationship with this gentleman and it goes back a long ways. And you've always served that relationship well, um, too, right?
You bet. You bet. Absolutely.
Okay.
Two-way street in
Well,
that
and the
regard.
two-way street, and I say this, I actually talked about this in our one of the early year loyalty episodes about how do you actually make a meaningful referral. It's not, hey, talk to this person. I've got three more if that doesn't work out.
Yeah.
People
Yeah,
do
this
that.
and this one was absolutely I have to say that it was a late evening phone call as
Yeah.
well. So I was enjoying a glass of wine while we had this
Nice.
conversation, and we actually stayed on the phone for an hour and a half just talking beyond the I'm having these people contact you for this
You and
referral.
the other member.
The referring agent. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Excellent.
The
So keep
referring
going. I'm
member.
sorry. I shouldn't have
Yeah.
waylaid you
So,
there.
so they came for a visit, and I showed them around. I showed them neighborhoods, right? That's what I'm doing a lot of these days with the lack of inventory. I show them neighborhoods, lots of neighborhoods, and I show them the assets and the pros and cons of, drivability, parks, that sort of thing. And that allows me to get to understand the things that are important to them. And so they felt really comfortable that I understood what they were looking for. So they went,
Tammy, there's a flip side to that story right there that I've heard that's really disturbing to me, which is you weren't showing them Like, you weren't saying to them, well, there's no houses that are on the market, keep checking. You were saying, here's a neighborhood. When something comes on the market, I want you to know so you can act quickly and be
Absolutely.
informed, right?
Yeah.
That's super important right now.
Absolutely. And that is my MO at this
Yeah.
point, particularly for people who are going to move here from out of town. A lot of times they have a little time to wait, but it's truly getting a sense of uh, why do you like this neighborhood, right? Is it the tree canopy? Is it because there's a park or easy access to the water, or um, the organic grocery store is within walking distance, right? So truly
Yep.
understanding which neighborhoods are going to be good fits so that when something comes up, and sure enough, it did. And so we actually were in that fray of multiple
Sure.
offers that we didn't win, but showing homes by FaceTime and Zoom and that sort of thing. And they trusted that it was going to happen. And ultimately, it happened. And in this case, this is an aside talking about the lifestyle, right? Lifestyle choices and that sort of thing. They had a really wide budget, and there was one house that they liked that was commonsensical in the $500,000 range,
Sure.
and there was one house that was waterfront at 875,000. And they were having to decide between those two. That's a lot of money, right?
Yeah.
That's a big
Big
difference.
spread. Big
And we
spread.
talked back and forth, just exploratory, right? So if this is your opportunity to live the waterfront lifestyle and you can, is that worth it to you, right? Because we're in the middle of the pandemic essentially. And again, people are making decisions of if not now, then when?
And when, yeah.
Right? And so that was a really, really remarkable counseling session, if you will, right? To help them make the decision. Because it wasn't me pushing for the more expensive property, it was about them making the decision. They are happy as clams. And so this is where the rest of the story comes in. So they referred their parents to me to purchase a condo near the beach that they can use entirely for vacation, that also the family that I helped to buy can use for the weekend at the beach, right? So this is a family connection. This is not an investment. This is not a rental. This is something that really was important. So we had the first meeting by Zoom. Then they flew in for a visit. We didn't find anything on that visit, but I understood entirely what were the must-haves and what was the goal. And ultimately, a property came up, and I said, "This is the one. It checks all of your boxes, every single one." And so I showed it that day to them by FaceTime, and they put an offer in that was accepted. And they flew in the next day and saw it, and they said, "Tami, you were right. Right? It checks all the boxes. We have no heartburn about having made this decision from afar." And so that was great, right? So they successfully closed just a couple of weeks ago, and the parents have now referred their friends to us. And when we're finished with this podcast recording, I have a scheduled Zoom call to meet them for the first time, and also at the same time, the physician referred me to her friends who live in Oregon who are moving back to this area. And I had a first Zoom meeting with them just 2 nights ago. And it was an immediate connection, and really just when you work in this way, it's like you get delivered the folks that are going to be the right connection, right? Like it's karma, right? You
Yeah,
you
it's
reap what
earned,
you
but
sow.
it's earned.
Yeah.
It's earned. It's earned karma.